In last episode, we finished out the freshman season of my 400-pound quarterback, Brian Flakes. And in today's video, we're going to be playing out the first half of Flakes' sophomore campaign. Quickly taking a look at the depth chart, we're an 81 overall with 81 speed. Our running back is surprisingly a 96 overall. The wide receivers are pretty mid. We do have 3 over 80 overall. We do have a new tight end. My favorite target from a season ago is onto the NFL. And surprisingly, on paper, the offensive line is pretty good, which was kind of surprising. But going into this year, we're still supposed to be the 98th best team in the country and number 6 in our own division. And the first practice of the season was fairly important because we're going to be facing off against Houston, one of the best teams in the conference. And right away, I kind of realized that Flakes is going to have some trouble this year after multiple drops from his wide receivers. But with his last rep in this practice, he would find his new tight end, Randall, for a huge gain. And it was game time. Houston had an overall advantage in every single category except for offense, actually. But this was going to be a tough matchup, especially on the road. But here's UTSA starting off with a triple option, and Brian Flakes is loose, going down the right sideline. Does he have the angle? He does not, but a huge gain. But a few plays later on 4th and 5, being aggressive on the road, Flakes is going to find Carpenter to get inside Cougar territory. And the very next play, Flakes is going to stand tall in the pocket and find Chris Carpenter again inside the 10. And the very next play, find the new tight end, Jaron Randall, right up the seam to give UTSA a 7-0 lead early. And our defense, which is not supposed to be too good, did hold the Cougars to 0 points on their first drive. And as the first quarter is coming to an end, Flakes has UTSA on the move with a very promising drive to go up 2 scores. But after taking a sack, it's now 3rd and 17, and Flakes sees some pressure, moves outside the pocket, and looking down the field for his wide receiver, he's going to find McCoy, but he's going to be a yard short. But trusting the defense, coach elected to punt, and here's Flakes again on the triple option, sees a ton of green grass down the right sideline, rumbling and stumbling across for 25 yards. But again, after a couple of negative runs, the Roadrunner offense was behind the sticks, and on 3rd and 13, the pass is batted down. But although the offense has been struggling to consistently move the ball against this Cougar defense, our defense has done a great job themselves just holding Houston to 0 points and really limiting them on offense. But now nearing the red zone, Flakes is going to take a pretty big hit here as he finds his running back on a check down and have to be subbed out of the game due to an injury. The backup would come in but be unable to complete a pass, so we would have to settle for a field goal, but a 10-0 lead at halftime was a fairly good start. And coming out of the locker room, the game plan was the same. Flakes just needed to continue to take what the defense was giving him and not turn the ball over. The run game would have to improve if the Roadrunners did want to escape with a victory as the speed option gets shut down. And the very next play on 3rd and 13, Barnes is going nowhere with the running back draw, but the UTSA defense continues to stand tall as they hold Houston to 0 points through 2.5 quarters. But here's Flakes rolling out to his left, sees a ton of open grass and picks up the first down. But now approaching the red zone, coach wanted to be very aggressive again and finally get some breathing room over Houston. So on 4th and 12, Flakes is just barely going to pick up the first down. And a couple plays later, Flakes is going to find Chris Carpenter on this slant route and get the Roadrunners up 17-0. The Cougars did finally get on the board, but I think it might be too little too late as Flakes on 1st and 10 is going to make something happen out of nothing and find Cephas. But once again on this 1st and 10 play, Flakes is going to take a massive hit and have to sit out for the rest of the game. But it would not matter as UTSA would pick up a couple of first downs and run out the clock and move to 1-0 on the season. Flakes had himself a very good performance, over 300 yards of offense and 2 touchdowns. And after that performance, Flakes would finally move up to a veteran starter and be able to flip plays. And next week's matchup would be against another fairly good opponent in Arizona. And then we get up to a fairly good start, scoring on their opening drive and sacking Flakes on 1st and 10. But Flakes would quickly respond on 2nd and 21 and fire a strike over the middle of the field to Joshua Cephas. But again, the tendencies of Flakes continue to rear their ugly head as he's going to force one into the end zone. It's going to be intercepted by Warnell Jr. and Arizona's going to take over. The Wildcats would score 3 more points off of that turnover, and the UTSA offense had to finally get going. After a huge completion down the field, Flakes is a little bit locked in. He's going to find McCoy for another first down on 3rd and 9. And again, behind the sticks on 3rd and 14, a quick pass to Carpenter up the seam for another huge conversion. So the Roadrunner offense might have figured some things out. And here's Flakes going down the field to Joshua Cephas, who's going to hold on and get in the end zone. And after the defense finally made their first stop, it was up to Flakes to bring the offense right back down the field. And after another huge completion to Cephas, Flakes is going to see his wide receiver running wide open down the field. It's Chris Carpenter, and he's going to get inside the end zone. Flakes might have found his new favorite target, but on 3rd and 18, now towards midfield, Flakes is going to have some pressure and not be able to get the pass off. And the Wildcats would finally break through and get on the board, but they were not able to get the 2-point conversion, so UTSA still had a small lead. And after this completion from Flakes to get the ball inside the 5-yard line, the Roadrunners would run it in and take a 9-point lead. And after the Wildcats were unable to score, a touchdown on this drive would be the dagger for them. And after getting the ball inside their territory, coach would call up a screen play and Barnes would be unable to pick up the first down. And instead of just kicking the field goal, coach wanted to go for it on 4th and 6 and called a bubble screen. And surprised to no one, the Wildcats went right down the field and scored a touchdown, and the Roadrunners were going to have to pump the ball back to them. But luckily, the defense held, and Flakes was just able to kneel out the game and lead the team to a 2-0 start with 2 fairly good performances. But the week 3 matchup was not going to be any easier. It actually might end up being the hardest game of the season. Kansas State is a 91 overall, and this is a pretty hostile environment, but the first play from scrimmage for Flakes is going to get outside the pocket and pick up a very nice run, juking out a defender, and the very next play is going to find Joshua Cephas in the middle of the field with an absolute dime. So the Roadrunner offense was coming out swinging. They know that they had to start fast if they were going to pull off the huge upset, and after bringing the offense all the way down the field, the backup running back Griffin would find the end zone, but the Wildcats would quickly answer, and on 3rd and 5, this running back draw would go nowhere, so UTSA had a punt, and just like that, the Roadrunners were in a hole, and here's Flakes trying to go deep to his new tight end, and he's actually going to drop this pass that was right in the bucket. A massive drop, especially on the road, but a couple plays later, he would redeem himself, making a pretty tough catch in the middle of the field, and a couple plays later, Flakes would look towards the end zone and see his wide receiver streaking wide open and tie the game up 14 apiece, and after the defense forced a quick 3-and-out, one last play to end off the half, and it would be a garbage time interception, which does not help the Heisman bout for Flakes. But the good news was it was a tie game heading into halftime, and UTSA would start off with the ball, and now inside the red zone, Flakes would stand tall in the pocket and find Joshua Cephas for a huge conversion to put the ball inside the 5, but this time on 3rd and goal, our backup running back Griffin would be unable to get inside the end zone. We'd have to settle for a field goal, and that definitely sucked because you knew that the Wildcats would respond with a touchdown, and on 3rd and 9, that screen pass is going nowhere. So now entering the 4th quarter, the Roadrunners would find themselves behind, but on 3rd and 7, Flakes is going to find McCoy, who breaks a tackle and is off and running down the right sideline and brings it inside the red zone. But coach would decide to go for it on 4th and 2 and try to fit it into this tight window on the slant route, but it would be broken up. Luckily, the defense held, but the Roadrunners still needed a touchdown with less than 2 minutes to go to win this game. And after a huge 4th down conversion, Flakes is going to get outside the pocket here and see a ton of green grass down the left side of the field. He's going to pick up a block and get the ball all the way inside the 25. And with less than 1 minute to go on a triple option, Barnes, the 96 overall, would take the lead. But the defense still had to get one more stop, and Kansas State was already approaching field goal range. Their quarterback Johnson's going to get outside the pocket here and slide down, but instead of using their timeout, he's going to try and go to the line and spike the ball. And with only 5 seconds left, I do not know how they expect to get this play off, and they're not actually going to be able to. The Wildcats, because of their terrible game management, would blow an opportunity to tie the game, but Brian Flakes, he wasn't complaining. So the Roadrunners were now 3-0, and they would move past the early gauntlet of their schedule and face off against New Mexico. And on paper, this should be a fairly easy matchup at home against a 73 overall defense, but they started off the game playing fairly good defense, forcing UTSA to punt on their first drive. And once again, the defense gives up an opening drive touchdown, so Brian Flakes has to wake up the offense and bring them right back down the field and tie this game up. And after a nice scramble, Flakes is going to run some play action with Barnes and then find Willie McCoy outside the numbers on a beautiful pass to get inside Lobo territory. But on 2nd and 20, the offensive line issues continue, and Flakes takes a massive hit and is down on the field injured, and medical staff has to come out and check on him. But I guess the commercial break was enough time for him to recover because his first pass back would be a dot to Jaron Randall for 6. And getting the ball back tied with 2 minutes to go in the half, Flakes wanted to get some points before they went into the locker room. Coach would call Flakes his favorite play 4 verticals, and he would find Chris Carpenter, who breaks the tackle and gets in the end zone. But the Lobos would respond and tie the game up 14 apiece with only 17 seconds to go in the half. But that was still plenty of time for the explosive Roadrunners offense to get some points before the end of the half. So getting those points before the 3rd quarter was a huge momentum boost, and here is Joshua Cephas taking a bubble screen for 16 yards. And a couple plays later, Flakes is going to find his wide receiver 4 and Clark, and he's going to be wide open for a touchdown. And now being up 10 with the ball, the Roadrunners wanted to put the New Mexico Lobos to sleep, and here's Flakes running out on 1st and 10 and picking up a huge 1st down. And coach really wanted to rest the starters, so we went for it on 4th and 1, but Flakes would be a little bit inaccurate with the pass, and it would be a turnover on downs. And after the defense got another stop, the only thing the Roadrunners cannot afford is a turnover, as Randall's going to drop the pass and it's going to be intercepted. Brian Flakes cannot believe it, and the Lobos would capitalize with a touchdown. And again, some weird things in this game. For whatever reason, on 3rd and 1 with 1:13, coach called a quarterback kneel, so that means the New Mexico Lobos were going to get the ball back. But again, the same thing that happened in last game. They got the ball all the way inside the 25, but were unable to actually get the snap off to settle for the field goal. So the Roadrunners escaped with another victory and moved to 4-0 on the season. And another formidable opponent in the Green Wave was the next matchup, and they came out of the gate swinging, scoring a touchdown on their opening drive, so not a good start for the Roadrunner defense. But it was up to the offense to respond, and here on the triple option, Flakes is going to get a little sticky with it, hit a juke, and pick up the 1st down. And now inside the red zone, the Roadrunner offense is going to stay on the field and go for it, and Flakes is going to make a man miss behind the line of scrimmage and then try to pick up this 1st down. He's just going to barely do it and get inside the 1-yard line. And the very next play on a read option, he would get inside the end zone for another rushing touchdown. But the Green Wave would respond with yet another touchdown, so UTSA had a 7-point deficit once again through the halfway point of the 2nd quarter. But now inside the 30, Flakes would see one-on-one coverage and throw it outside to Joshua Cephas, who breaks the tackle and gets in the end zone. zone. So these playmakers for the Roadrunner offense are really showing out so far this season as Randall makes a diving catch. And the very next play, Flakes would get outside the pocket and put an absolutely beautiful move on this defender as he goes right down the left sideline. Does he have enough speed to get to the edge? He does not, but he picks up a huge gain. And again, running the read option inside the 5, Flakes is going to find his way in the end zone to take the lead. But after the Roadrunner defense got a stop, Flakes would be pretty fortunate this pass would not be intercepted on 3rd and long. And the Green Wave would convert that punt into points. And on 3rd and 12, once again, Flakes is going to fire to Randall, who does have another drop. But coming to the end of the 3rd, UTSA had a chance to bring the ball down the field and take the lead. But I would sim one run play and there would be a fumble. And of course, as it always happens, Tulane would convert on the turnover. So now UTSA had to go down the field and tie the game up. But Brian Flakes and this offense are very accustomed to come from behind wins. They've already done it this season. They did a lot last season as well. But on this 2nd and 7, the offensive line could not hold up once again. And Flakes is going to take another big hit and be forced to go to the sideline. And with only 30 seconds to go, McCown, the backup quarterback, would fire to the end zone and find Carpenter to tie the game. So it would head to OT and Tulane would have to set up for a field goal to make it a 31-28 game. So a touchdown would win it. And Brian Flakes on his very first pass back would not see the linebacker who picks it off and ends the game and gives UTSA their first loss of the season. And the rebound game was not going to be easy against 88 overall Tulsa. But from the first drive, Flakes could tell that the Golden Hurricane defense could not cover their weaponry. After he found Randall for a huge gain, he ran the exact same play and found him once again right down the middle of the field. And after completing 3 straight passes, Flakes on 4th and 2 would find Randall once again for an opening drive score. And after the Roadrunner defense got the ball back, the floodgates were really open for the UTSA offense to explode this game. Flakes would find Clark right up the seam for an easy completion to bring it inside the red zone. And a couple plays later, running back Kavorion Barnes would find his way in the end zone to make it a 14-0 game. The offense got the ball back and it was right back to the bread and butter. Here's Flakes right down the middle of the field once again on 4 verticals. 2 plays later, Willie McCoy on a curl route would be wide open to make it 21-0. But the Roadrunners still wanted more. They were pissed off after their performance last week as again Carpenter down the middle of the field. And one more score would probably be the end of this game. So on 4th and 12, coach wanted to go for it, but Cephas was unable to hold on to the ball. But it really wouldn't matter. Tulsa cannot get anything going on offense and they still couldn't guard these vertical routes in the middle of the field. And on 3rd and 8, start of the 4th quarter, Flakes is looking for the dagger so he can go on the sideline and eat some food. And he's going to find his wide receiver here, Chris Carpenter, to go up 28-0. And that would be the last snap that Flakes played and probably the best game of his career. And through 6 games, UTSA found themselves at 5-1 and 5th in their division. And Flakes was having a very solid sophomore campaign with 12 touchdowns and 4 picks, along with being the team's leading rusher with 382 yards and 2 touchdowns. But in the next episode, we will finish off the sophomore season of Brian Flakes' career and see if he can lead the Roadrunners to a conference championship.